Well, but the Democrats in elected office right now are doing something else other than just looking back. They're looking forward, and they have a new economic agenda called A Better Deal. What is it? Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Barbara Lee. She serves on the House Appropriations Committee, Democrat from California, of course. Good to have you with us this morning.
Glad to be with you this morning.
We'll talk about the politics in Schumer and what that means for your party. We will. But I want to know, what is the better deal? We've been pushing on the Democrats. What are you going to come up with? Where are your ideas? The headlines I get are this: create full-time jobs for 10 million Americans, crack down on big corporate mergers, lower prescription drug prices. How do you weave those three things together?
Sure, and thank you very much, Chris. Later on today, this full agenda will be rolled out. But I can tell you, first, let me just speak to the process in terms of our leadership. Our communications team met with the majority of the members of our Democratic caucus, and we're a very diverse caucus, and got input into this agenda. And what they found through the meetings and discussions was that people really want to look at where Democrats stand in terms of economic security, in terms of good-paying jobs, in terms of health care. And so we have a variety of districts. We have suburban, rural, urban districts, and this message was discussed so that we could make sure that we could talk about what we stand for in all of our districts. But what's important is our agenda and what we do to make sure that people throughout the country, not just Democrats, but Republicans, Greens, Independents, know that we're fighting for them for economic security.
Well, so you have the message, and there's no question. I mean, you know, I remember growing up, the Democratic Party was the blue-collar party, and that seems to have switched, where the Republican Party is the blue-collar party and the Democrats are the white-collar party. Do you agree with that assessment?
No, I don't agree. When you look at our history in fighting for good-paying jobs and fighting for lifting people out of poverty, 47 million people living below the poverty line, working, the working poor, low-income individuals, the middle class, Democrats historically have fought to do that.
True, but you don't feel that there's been a narrative shift in terms of how the parties are perceived?
Well, that may be because of the headline sound bites. It may be because we haven't done a good enough job in really communicating our message and what we stand for and who we are and what we have done and will continue to do. And that's why we're rolling this out today, to make sure that the public understands that we're not only fighting for Democrats, we're fighting for the country. We're fighting for economic security, for jobs, for living wages, for health care. And they will see that we have been there all along, but we just haven't been able to break through in terms of the sound bites in the media.
Any how when it comes to 10 million full-time jobs?
Well, it will be rolled out later, and I think all of us will have our piece in terms of how we're going to work within the, I mean, remember, we're in the minority now in the Congress, but we're still fighting for infrastructure, for efforts to, I'm on the Appropriations Committee, for example. And let me tell you, we worked on the bills last week, and it's very clear that the Republicans stand for millionaires and billionaires, these huge cuts. Look at State Department cuts. They want to propose 30% in cuts, cutting workforce training, cutting apprenticeship programs. We're trying to make sure that the public understands we're there fighting to make sure they have the skills and the education necessary to compete in the global economy so they can have a better standard of living for their families. That's what everyone wants.
Prescription drug prices. This is a huge thing for Democrats and Republicans. Everybody will agree the ACA needs fixes when you look at the individual markets. It often comes down to cost structure. Drug prices are a huge part of cost structure. How aggressive do you think this move will be on lowering drug prices?
When you look at the Affordable Care Act and where the improvements are necessary, prescription drug costs are one area. And we're going to work hard to make sure that we look at the VA, for example, to make sure that we ensure that people have a chance to reduce their prescription drugs through perhaps bulk buying and through economies of scale. And so it's very important that people understand. We've been trying this for years. It hasn't worked. But we will definitely move forward so the public understands what it takes to make it work, and that is, first, the Republicans must stop this effort to repeal and take away health care from 22 million.
Well, look, this could be something where you find some common ground, because a lot of Republicans talk about drug prices as well. It'll be interesting to see if we can see some type of cooperation on it. And as you say,